and start streaming. Wait a few seconds. Alright, everybody. Hey, guess what? It is Education with Ed. It is Sunday, March 10th, 2019. We're about a minute slow, but that's okay. More often than not, people are not going to remember the daylight savings time thing, so you'll just be watching this on a rerun. So, Ed, why don't you let us know what's up?
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us again tonight. It is, it is an interesting time when you look at what's going on in our, what people call society today, because that's a foreign terminology to this country. Because remember, that came from a foreign country, the way that was taught and the way we're taught to believe and the way our education is today compared to what we think it is. We're still led by, fantasies, dreams, all these type of crazy stuff. And, I get it, that it does help once in a while to have these things that, bring us to these points of, some sanity, some savior on some of the other stuff. And I get this. So, anyhow, I want to bring that to your attention that, the whole point about getting this, sorry, I got a little detoured off of this. We got too many things on the computer going on at once. I wanted to get into dealing with our rights. And this is the point that people are not getting completely. I still keep getting this stuff sent out. I keep getting more and more people that are learning it. They're getting it. That is the main point. They are starting to get it. File your rights. Prove your bloodline. You get all these people out there that tell you, oh, that doesn't matter. You're missing the biggest point of all this. It matters because everybody runs to the 14th Amendment. Everybody runs and we know about the Lieber Code. Everybody runs and we knows what's even happened in the 1933 bankruptcy and the 1913 structure when they were, or 1911, where the League of Nations was formed, what the United Nations is today. So, we know this history. We've comprehended this stuff. We're getting it down. People are writing it. They are reading it. They are getting it. But the main point, folks, the main point is that you have to file to prove your authority in this country, if you're lawful or legal. All right? And people say it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. They are getting it. I've got stuff that, it's interesting because I filed a lot of paperwork. I got another week of filing, and then I got to go back up for another 5 weeks for severe testing for my heart and lungs and stuff. But, they got me on some pretty heavy-duty medication right now, just for the heart medication and the lung medication. But, shit, they don't give you pain medication today. You're supposed to suffer. That's what gets to me. Oh, these religious people. And they say, oh, the religious people don't do this. Yes, you do. Because a lot of people in that structure believe in the structure that people should pain and suffer, know what it feels like. We grew out of that, And then we got this point that everybody keeps going, oh, we got all these drugs and all the opiates are doing and killing. The opiates ain't doing a damn thing, folks. Wake up. All right, the opiates ain't doing a damn thing to nobody. It is called personal responsibility and liability. Trust me, I've been on opiates off and on for my neck broke in 1989. So I was on opiates for 15 straight years. I cut them off, had no problems, even drank with them, never had a problem, didn't drink, didn't have pain. Wasn't at times where I didn't need them, And the thing is, when you get into this opiate crap, it's all about tax write-off and money. And so that way they can sit there and go, they got these Senate bills in the state of Oregon again, and people don't realize these Senate bills and House bills are administrative rules for the state corporation. So, and everybody keeps going, well, if you're a member of a state corporation with your driver's license and with Social Security card, that's totally different. That's a totally private corporation. So don't get wrapped up in that and go read the original structure of Social Security. It's a private corporation, the original structure of it. It's the only thing that the forefathers did, and the Supreme Court even agreed that it was constitutional because it was written for lawful bloodline natives only can get it. Immigrants could not. That was set up on, so I mean the history is there. It's just, not getting confused by what everybody else is trying to confuse you by. And it's very disturbing that we go through this because we get a lot of guys out there. I mean, it's funny because I do watch these talk shows. And I do listen to a lot of stuff on Facebook, and, basically I live on this damn thing because I don't have a life. So, I mean, well, I do have a life. This is my life. So, I mean, I can't say that. I do have a life. This is one of the best things is educating people and bringing the facts out, bringing the truth out. And see, this is the one thing when we've got these battles are in front of us, we get surprised fight all these court cases. But the thing is to start getting them moved through the House and Senate. Okay? I mean, and one thing is to start filing on these men and women the criminal charges, which people are more and more doing that today than they ever have done before. They're getting it. And so this is the point that we are succeeding. You're watching the House and Senate administrative rules. You are watching Trump coming out and being severely attacked, with the Democrats right now. And so that is the one thing that, it's so frustrating what Trump is going through. Like I said, I don't sit there and vote. I don't participate in the corporation game. Because, I mean, when the last year I went to high school, we had something called civics, and we were actually taught the separation of Republican form of government, Republican government, and we were taught the separation and the meaning of democracy government, and that was in California school system. 1980 was the last year that civics were taught in the school systems. And Pelosi did have something to do with that, so that would get eliminated out of the budget. These people do a lot of things out there without your knowledge, but now we got people out there that are standing up and bringing this stuff forward. So this is the one thing that is the blessing about what's going on today with the technology we got. With YouTube videos, and we'd like to thank YouTube. We'd like to thank all the guys who've got all these free structures out there, including Facebook. Because even with Facebook, I mean, come on. Without Facebook, most of us wouldn't even be connected and get the information passed around. Sure, I get flagged all the time going, that's not community standards when I put something of history or the congressional records on people's sites, and I go back in and protest it, and next thing you know, it's back on their sites, okay? So, it's just they want to determine if you're real or not, if you're standing on it. And so, we got to fight that part. It's just the way it is. Because remember, Facebook is a private contract that we sign into, that we don't get a choice or decision to make on how that contract is. Because unless you copy-paste that contract and then send it back into Facebook by email and by all that structure of the corporation and declare your rights, hey, so, and that is the one thing when I did my original structure, I did that. So, these are things that when you look at these things, you got to think a little further ahead. You got to think one more step down the chain. You got to think how these things come together, how these people work together. It is interesting what's going on in our country today. And especially if Trump did not win, right now we would be all in a mess. And I guess all of you agree with that one. And we all know it. And so now the other point is that we have religion that people are arguing about. And everybody keeps telling me, Ed, get off the religion. Ed, get off the religion. And it's like people have got to realize what religion is running through your House and Senate because it's even supposed to be separate from religion. We're not supposed to have religion in our government. And I've been putting this one out, and let me go find it here and read this, because I want to clarify this stuff with some parts of religion with people. Because religion is not even supposed to be in the government of our elected and public employees, because we the people are the government. But we have elected and public servants, so we cannot forget that type of circumstances of our public servants. And it does help when you folks are talking these things, and you do talk it and say you have elected and public servants. See, those words mean a lot when you speak those out to the general public. Oh, we have elected and public servants. Instead of everybody says the word government, and people have this inferior complex about government. Oh, it's above and a big, and it's too big for me to beat. It's too big for me to conquer. It's too big for me to survive it. We're all surviving it. It's just figuring out the game of what they're shifting next point. And see, that's the one thing that with the House and Senate, when he's passed these administrative rules, people have got to realize what these administrative rules are for. Elected and public employees, and they're for maritime structure, or you want to call it military structure. We know what the circumstances are. All right, now we just got to start making sure that when you're filing your paperwork, you're bringing these stuff in it. I'm going to find this thing because I want to read this one deal, but I want to get into dealing with, at the end of your letters that I have put out to everybody, the notice of filing with the clerk. You can put the whole one-page deal in it or just part of the segment, however you want to use that part, but I would at least recommend putting the two little paragraphs together that I have, and then that way when you do that, it helps that way, because if they don't file your paperwork, you've got them already. You don't have to refile on them. They didn't do their job. Then you just file on their employment. So you got to step out of the ring, look at how the game is played, look how to conquer the other side of the team, and look how to defeat that goalpost. And that's what we're doing right now with the proper education. And this is the one thing that when you are always put in your letters, you always want to address your letters, notice to agent and notice to principal. Notice to principal, notice to agent, because the principal is you and the agent is your public servant, and that's where they have to be registered under the 1938 Foreign Registration Act. And that's the one thing that you always want to make sure that all judges are lawfully required by 28 U.S.C. 372 to have an oath of office. And not only that, they're supposed to have an insurance bond that they're supposed to have readily available. Now, when I've been to the clerk's office, everybody fights and says, we don't have this, we don't have to do this. All right, now the next point on that one is you have to file with the state attorney general. When you file with the state attorney general, you have to file with the federal state attorney general. And then you want to file with your House and Senate members. And then when you do that, you always make sure you're emailing that to your local media. Because if somebody really cares, they'll pick it up in the local media. It's not going to just blow it off when they comprehend what it really is all about. So, the progress is producing has really been doing us a lot of wonders. You've been seeing the changes in the House and Senate, watching the senators panicking, the Democratic Party basically losing their mind on the Oregon state, as well as the federal Senate, House, and floors. If anybody's been watching some of these videos that's been flying around Facebook, it is interesting how some of these senators are literally losing it in the House and Senate, and losing their composure on some of this stuff for the bills, and everybody's whining about the democracy is ending, and it's like, Where's the democracy? Who wants democracy? I don't want a ruler. You know, I want to be able to go out hunting and fishing and enjoy my life. You know, and that's the other point that I've been making calls this week, too, that I've got to finish up. Because I'm questioning my senators. Not my senators per se. Well, put it this way, my straw man senators. If you want to get technical in that capacity, but they're not mine, but I'm going after them because of my rights to travel and stuff, and I want to be able to make sure that this gets in the Oregonian. I'm going to try to put these guys in a position of, all right, so you're lying, cheating, stealing, so I know some of these people personally in the past and stuff, so I'm going to make a personal comment to them on their message, or if I talk to them personally, how they support raping children and all this, and ask them how they're, why they do it, how much are they getting paid for it. Because it's time to be blunt with some of this stuff, and I don't have a problem being blunt with that with these people, and this is the one thing that we've got to be blunt with these people, because right now, you know, with people that are walking around, and I watch a lot of these people on the internet trying to, you know, sneak around everybody's back and play these little games back and forth, and, you know, it's interesting because I watch a lot of other people that don't like when proper information's out. I know that I have a lot of people that are go on at this time now all of a sudden that do their little spiels at this time when everybody knows, and most of these people in the group, you know, I deal with, you know, people. So it's just interesting, you know, that we go through this stuff. You know, we're supposed to be working together, and it makes you wonder how many people are on the inside or the outside in these situations. That is the one thing that we've got to answer these questions to ourselves and ask these questions to ourselves. Now, I'm still trying to get back over here to the computer here. So I want to get into it. I did a stamp up. It's a very large stamp. We'll have a copy of that put up on the page coming up soon. And then I'm going to be having another smaller stamp made dealing with UCC, basically 1308, formerly I-207, or actually it's reversed technically because it used to be formerly, yeah. And basically it says that, you know, you have your rights intact, and that's what it comes under. And go ahead.
Just to let you know, right on YouTube right now, the picture of the stamp is up.
Oh, okay. Hang on a minute. Let me get over there. Cool. So let me get over to there. All right. I appreciate that. All right. So, okay. Let me put it up. There we go. You already did it. All right. Oh, that's a little blurry, isn't it?
It's a little big, and the writing's a little small. There's not much I can do with that.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just looking at it. It's pretty blurry what comes up. I got to do my stamp. I hope it doesn't come that blurry on the paper.
Oh, no, on the paper it's nice and clear. It's YouTube is a bit low end.
Oh, okay. All right, gotcha. So it was nice clear on the paper. That's what counts. Because we can always probably get a better copy of that eventually cleared up. And but with this stamp, the way I've got this stamp, so that way you're putting all your rights intact, and so you just write your stamp and you do your autograph with your seal. And one thing, you know, it's making things a little easier for us. I'm looking at these stamps to put together. I got some T-shirts that I'm working on putting designs up together with a few things. We've got new business cards that I've got being that I'm going to be getting out, because I'm looking at this thing now is with what I'm going through with the medical stuff and some of the medical expenses I'm dealing with right now. It's I've got to do something to do something here, because it is interesting, you know. Even though disability, you know, people are on disability, and it is very frustrating that when we're on disability, we're not getting anywhere. You know, we paid into the system, and then all of a sudden we get screwed. So that is the one thing that is so frustrating to me, how we pay into this stuff and then we're the ones getting screwed. And so that is the thing that gets to me. Why are we going through this? Why are we allowing these public servants doing this treatment to us? So I am getting ready to put up on my Facebook walls this other group that I just got this information. I have not totally checked it out. It's from hudok.info. And I'm putting it up on the Facebook walls right now. The United States for Elected and Public Employees oversights the Civil War 1866 lawful bloodline Americans and New Oregon Trackers and Recall Kate Brown. I'll be putting this up on all that and letting people do this, but these documents are interesting. It has trading with the enemy, the bankruptcy documents, and don't forget we do have the information on the bankruptcy on new.org and trackers too, that explains with the bankruptcy, the truth of the bankruptcy. Remember, we the people are not a government agency, so we are not bankrupt. And so the only reason why you're bankrupt if you have credit cards, IOUs, and then it has the evidence dealing with the foreign agent documents on this new information I'm posting up and giving out. I do plan on getting a hold of these guys who are running this company or this group, because somebody's doing this, and so I will be. Apparently it's a law firm. So okay, and so anyhow, I'm still putting this information out. I haven't read it, but we'll get into it, and so I just want to get this out because some of the headings on this information is really education, just the heading. So I figured it'd be worth looking at it, and then we could compare notes on what they're doing compared to what the evidence that we've got up on our stuff and what we put out. Because it's like, and we cannot forget the Lighthouse Law Club. I want to make sure that people do remember and think about the Lighthouse Law Club, because that is one thing that they have a lot of good information. I got a few people that have got a reissue back on that Lighthouse Law Club dealing with the court cases on mortgage fraud. And I put that mortgage fraud stuff out, and if people are not getting it, that is sort of frustrating to all of us, because it's like I sit here and I get the information out, and some people say they're not getting it, and it's sort of information that or it's interesting, they're saying they're not getting it, and I sent it to them 3 or 4 times. So if you have that issue, get back a hold of me. Let's see what the issue is. So anyhow, and then like you said, I got to get back and quit squirreling around. I'm going on too many things on my Facebook here. You got another new filing. Yeah, I'm still fighting the. Like I said, I'm on some heavy duty pill. They got me on this medication for this lung and heart failure. They said 8 times I had lung and heart failure. So, yeah, I get it. It's part of life for me right now. So that's the way it is. So dealing with it. I always thought it was hilarious because when I was in the hospital, they're sending the priest down for my last rites. I'm like, yeah, like I said before, yeah, you want to know how this works, huh? No, and then so I had to have my spiel on it, but that was entertaining for me. I still thought that was interesting because, that brings out a little bit more of the reality point, too, when they're sending you down with that. That tells you a little bit more of the truth of what's going on, too. So, but anyhow, don't forget the definition, the term of person. Okay, that is 26 U.S.C. Code 7343. Definition of the term person. That's a corporation member, an employee, a partnership, such as an officer, employee, member, under the duty perform the act and respect of which the violations occur. So, in other words, what they're saying is that if your person does any violations, that's where your person is. So that's where they're saying you don't have rights, because a person is illegal or a legal immigrant, elected and public employee. But for lawful bloodline natives who are not public employees or foreigners and not in that structure, you are not a person, and especially if you're a lawful bloodline native, that means you have rights, not privileges. And so it is that people don't realize how important that is of your bloodline. The bloodline is very, very important. So you have to realize what the bloodline means. You got to realize all these countries, England and France and all these countries, China, all go by the bloodline. All go by the bloodline. And the only reason that the Constitution saves us is our bloodline. Now, people will say, well, the Constitution is a wrong contract for us, or, you know, we have people going out the Constitution. It's like, learn and read the Constitution. You know, when somebody doesn't comprehend the Constitution, I have fun with a lot of people because people don't read the Constitution. They don't get the Constitution. They have their opinions of what they think their opinion is. And that is the point. You know, you don't want an opinion. You want to have the facts. And so that's what we're getting out to you on New.org and Trackers, is the facts, the information to you. And so I'm trying to get this information up, but my computer is going a little bit slower than molasses again. Let me catch up to it, and because I want to get into that point that I wanted to read on the jurisdiction of religion. Oh, so, all right, got another group that just put me into it, so anyhow, we'll get that one set up. But the one thing, too, that we want to get into more filings on the city and counties. Now, I just filed a bunch of stuff on the city of Toledo the last week. I sent it. It should be, we'll get it posted on the New.org and Trackers City Toledo site, part on the New.org and Trackers. And we'll get that so you can see my filings on the city of Toledo. It's interesting because the one thing, like I said, I went through with this code enforcer that comes down on my property and does all this, and I'm going nuts with it. And, you know, then all of a sudden when I come around, my neighbors are like, oh, shit, he's still alive. Well, yeah. Okay? I mean, yeah, I had a few close calls there, but, you know, no. And my house is still posted. There is no emission on my property without my express permission. And that should be anybody's. Or when you go on somebody's property, you have respect. If you trip or fall, man, you have respect. Oh, it's interesting how we lose reality. Excuse me. It is interesting how we lose a lot of circumstances. We don't pay attention to what we lose or what we've lost. But right now, our country is in a positive direction. Apparently, it looks that way. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff, and that's the one video I did put out dealing with, I can't remember the name of the video. It'll come to me here in a second. I just put it out, the Lieber Code. I just put that out in a long list of letter that I put out, and I'm going to be putting a deal together, and I'll be able to pass that out in emails. But with the Lieber Code, it's interesting because the guy goes through it, and I've talked to him a few times out there in Texas. And he gets into some of the stuff, and people don't realize the Lieber Code, what it does. But also, too, if you read the military handbook, see, you know, I'm not part of the military. They can't incorporate me into the military. There's no way they can do that without my express written permission. So it's like when people say, oh, the United States is in debt. Well, they can't say that I'm in debt and I have to pay somebody else's bill. I didn't put myself in debt. I didn't do that. I'm not liable to pay somebody else's bill down the street. It's not my responsibility. This is the one thing that they want to still get you into this feeling of community or village. Oh, everybody's to take care of everybody else. Well, the Constitution clearly states, and I have that information too, says that we are not liable for somebody else's debt. And that is the one thing. We don't want somebody else's liability. And so, that's the one thing that, I'm not going to pay your bills. I'm not going to pay your debt. Now, if you came to a point where you needed some, food or shelter or something like that, and I'm able to do something like that, hey, yeah. But, that's the one thing that's our right to decide. Not somebody else to take and decide, like what they're doing is taking, from us in our country, and are giving to these illegals and these immigrants that are coming over to our country, and they're subsidizing their food and sending food over to their countries and feeding them on our dollar. Well, I don't have a problem with it. Let's say we got enough food and we're throwing that much away. They want to pay for the gas to bring their ship over and grab the food and go back and whatever. They deal with it, not our liability. There's solutions to all these problems that they say is out there, but if you don't do it without creating debt, you're not doing it right. And I know, because I used to be a public employee, and that's one of the main reasons I got fired for saying that. And I got fired because I wouldn't write a bill to make people more in debt. So, I worked, I found ways to save money, and of course, you're not supposed to be saving money when you're a corporation like that. You're supposed to spend. Of course, you're spending other people's money in the corporation of the Public Employees Union. And also, too, remember, because an artificial identities cannot take an oath, they cannot make affidavits. And this is referred to Empire Refined Company. And this is 1F SUP.548-549 SDCAL.1932. See, this is before the Bankruptcy Act happened, but this was part of the Bankruptcy Act introductory into the structure. That was part of the reason why I haven't researched it all that depth, but I think this is part of the reason why House Resolution 192 came into effect. Because there was a few other court cases back there that I've read them, but I'm still trying to analyze to put them together and how they come together until somebody else does it faster than me, or until I get it and put it together, like I've done a lot of other these things. And so this is the education that we're all looking on. And remember that your elected and public employees have to be registered with the 1938 Foreign Administration Registration Act. And always file a Freedom Information Act on them. Always file that. And always file on them that they have to be registered under the 1938 Foreign Registration Act. Make sure you get that, or get a copy from me, because you can always put that in your introductory letters or any information you're sending out. I suggest putting it in there. People say, well, you don't have to go that far. That's threatening them. Well, I don't consider, they take it as a threat. I just want them to let them know that I know what their administrative rules are. I know what their system says. I got an email that's getting ready to go out to the city, and I've already served the city of Toledo on this other stuff. Now I want to serve them for the city contracts. So I'll be having that Freedom Information out this next 48 hours. going after them on that. So this is the one thing that, when you look at it, so it is like, I don't know, so sorry, something came up. Somebody put a message in. I've got my mind going on too many things. Sorry about that, folks. But anyhow, when it comes down to this stuff, is filing under the Freedom of Information Act. Put it in. Put in their agent registration stuff. Just put that little paragraph. You don't have to go bizarre like I do. Put the whole thing, the whole page in. But I mean, this is the one thing that when you put this stuff in the paperwork and they don't follow through, and what are the other circumstances of what your requests are or your demands, never fill out. I can't say never. That's up to you. But if I do their paperwork, I'll bring it in and rewrite it on the screen and rewrite it the way I want it, and I'll do it with their emblems and all that, but it'll be written in my contract with their contract form. Yeah, and so that is the one thing that to look at. There are templates up there. I don't know if we got any of ours up there yet or not. We don't. We'll be working on that. I'll be working on that. And so it is one very, very important thing to realize that the IRS is not a government agency. So when you tie in this stuff, when you pay like I said, when you pay a fee or fine or anything, put a 1099 form into it. Everybody says this, and it's like now, be careful. They got people that are putting out on the internet now that you could get a $700,000 refund from the IRS. Be careful on these things that are going on the internet right now. Be very careful with this stuff going on the internet. Because people are putting these packages out and they're selling them and you're getting set up in jail sentence. You gotta realize that these people out there are setting you up. And I always question about how many of these people are working for the government. How many of these people are working for the system, or, even some of the relatives even tie up and do this stuff. So this is the one thing that, I got it. This is the one thing that we got to pay attention what's going on with these fraud things that are going on out here. Because if they're out there splitting these packages, I don't want to get out there and start playing the games with people. I've already been some of the shuffles, but just pay attention to a lot of these people that are out there claiming this stuff. We've already seen what's happened to the group in Colorado that, which amazed me for all these guys that were supposed to be knowing the Constitution, how they ended up going into a state court. I can never comprehend how they ended up in a state court. It never made sense to me. All these guys, you talk about what you say out there, all these people. Read the stuff. I don't know why you ended up in that type of situation like I mentioned. And also, too, there is new information that I posted up dealing with some of the history with the Bundy stuff. There's more and more that is interesting. I'm letting people deal with that. I've came to a conclusion on that one of, when it really comes down to that situation, they're not into helping people. They're all out for themselves. If they really wanted help, they should have brought out some of these administrative rules, brought out some of the laws. And so it is so amazing how, people are just, about themselves when it comes down to certain things. That's sad. So I'm going to leave that the way it is. I'm not going to get involved. I already mentioned that to a few other people here recently. I'm not getting any further involved in any of the circumstances on that. Done with it. Me and Michael School wrote information for them. A few other people did. And it fell on deaf ears. So let them stick with their Article 1 court system and their lawyers, and so we're just going to see how the game is going to be played here from now on. So that's just the way that's going to be happening. So, and it's the one thing too, if you do hire an attorney, remember that you are giving up your rights. That attorney could turn you into jail at any time. The reason why attorneys hold people in jail, the main reason is because they get money for you sitting in jail because it's called bail bond. And they get a percentage what you get in jail. So when a city and county and a state get their percentage from the federal government, it's storing you, and it's a storage charge. And so they're getting a storage fee, and so the storage fee is more important to them than anything else. So you got to look at the corporation side. That's why with a sheriff, we got two sheriffs that are now standing up, and I'm going to be getting a hold of them this week. And we'll see what happens. I'm going to try to get them on the show or try to get some emails from them. But they're trying to stand up for the Second Amendment. I want to see if they're going to do that. They're claiming that they're not enforcing any of these new gun administrative rules. Then how come they're enforcing and putting people in prison for the right to travel then? See, these are things that, brings you up to a point that makes you wonder. It makes you go, So these are things that we have to look at and wonder why these things are happening, wondering why these circumstances are doing these things. So these are the things that are happening. So we are living things right now that are happening in this fashion. So, anyhow, like I said, I got this other information. I'm going to open up the floor here. We want to get some conversation going. I got some more instruments that will get publicized out here that are going out. I got three people's cases I'll have to you, 4 people's cases. I will have to you sometime, if not later tonight, you'll have them sometime by tomorrow afternoon. Because I got several people's cases I have to go through and read, and I'm trying to get all that done with everything else I'm trying to get accomplished too. And also too, Donald Trump, I guess, is going to have a surprise announcement coming up this week, so you guys will be in store for that one. So that's going to be an interesting one, and we're going to see how people are going to handle this one. So anyhow, let's go ahead and open the floor.
All participants are unmuted.
So anybody got anything they would like to add tonight or bring up? Did I forget something?
Ted.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you said that now let's say I just hypothetically, let's say I got a ticket, let's say for registration. You're saying that before you go to court, let's say that it's a month away. Before you go to court, you need to have the Freedom of Information Act and the FAR Act of 1938 or 38 filed at the county clerk's office before going to court, correct?
Yes. Not only that, you want to look up your state law in Texas, and I think I sent you that last year, to tell you the truth. I think it was last year on Texas law where you don't need registration.
Here's a question on that one, Ed.
Okay. Or actually, this on the website?
I'm not sure. I believe so. That information should be on the website. But here's a question. What if you're unable, let's say the county that is prosecuting you or whatever is state against whatever. What if it's in a different county than what you're in and you're not able to get there very easily, if at all? How do you manage to get that?
That's called hardship. They want you there. They have to provide it, and that's called hardship transportation. That's in their funding too. See, this is the one thing that there are circumstances out there on those type of things, but when you're bringing that up from one county to another on that type of deal, you want to get that letter in immediately. And you want to go and quote in on the state of the state, if that's, let's say, on your suggestion is like Oregon. That's on the website. I know that for a fact. You go to new.Oregon Trackers, and on the driver stuff, information in Oregon has that stuff. And just quote them their own laws back and ask them, are they registered, filed that structure, that if the judge's oath is to commit crimes, he is to go to prison. And then when you file that, you set it up so that way you set it to all the agencies too as well, and you're not hiding anything. You saw the one I did just a few, just a couple of months ago. I put up, and I think you put up on the website. And so that should have been there, and read that one, because we have all that stuff. I have the 13, what's the other one too? 26 pages on the whole registration history fact of the whole state and government. So read that stuff. I send that stuff out. Read it, quote it, learn it. Hey man, that's the one thing when these guys, try to come after me. It's like I said, I just spent, basically 3 months in the damn hospital. Everybody's like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Excuse me, I don't need to do anything. I'm here. You don't tell me what to do. Then they're trying to tell me how I need to learn how to sleep, how I need to learn how to do this. And it's like, you're not trying to reprogram me. And, not only that, my body's the way it is. It is interesting the way sometimes of these appointments go through, procedures go through. Because you got to remember, the doctors, medical boards, and all this, they don't give a shit about your constitutional rights. That's what I'm doing right now. I got a letter almost finished going to the medical board on this one. Because, excuse me, I have rights. And I finally got that through the hospital. I have rights. Then all of a sudden, I wasn't getting harassed anymore. But I've still got the letter going out to the medical board because I've got some questions for them. Because if this is the way people are being treated who are native, why are we being treated this way? We already have contracts with them by federal law, so they can't do this or that, and we're already covered. Our medical bills are already covered. And when you pay medical and dental insurance and all that, you got to remember 10%, or was it 10%, 11%, 11% of all of that money of everybody paid and all the taxes that are rolled over, 11% of that constantly rolls over, goes back into the uninsured motorist fund, and goes back to the uninsured fund. So the thing is, there in that uninsured funds are only to protect Native Americans. They're not to protect immigrants like they've been doing for the last, eons here. This so-called democracy. A democracy, illegals are not covered. As soon as people realize that one, we start winning. We start winning these things. So anyhow, just food for thought. Got that other one out. See what you think on that one. I'm putting this other one out. I'm going to be asking people to read this. I got to start reading this one too. It's interesting, but like hello. Am I talking too much? So anyhow, so we've got the information out there. Look it up, and we'll get that. I've already given that stuff to you, so look it up. It's on new.Oregon Trackers. It's there. So, all right. Anyhow, anybody else got anything else? Nothing. Nothing. All right. So, you there?
Oh, we're here,
Yes,
Ed.
I'm here.
Okay. So, anyhow, well, then let's call it. Nobody else has got nothing in. We've already got that information up there. Look at it. It's on new.Oregon Trackers. You know, if you're dealing with another county, file on these people. You got to file the criminal charges on the cop. You got to do this shit. If you don't do it, you lose. Simple as that. So if you start filing and standing up that you have rights, then you win. Otherwise, you don't win. It's that simple. So, anyhow, then with that, may the Great Spirit bless you, Mother look over you, and the Creator bless you.
All right. Thank you very much for listening to Education with Ed. Yes, do look at new.OregonTrackers.com. I know it's a bit confusing, but we are currently working on trying to make it more streamlined. But we keep getting more and more information, and kind of slows down the process of getting things more streamlined and easier to follow and find. So, with that, it is Sunday, March 10th, 2019. It is 5:51 Pacific Standard Time, p.m., and we'll catch you next Saturday with Disclaimers by Ed Johnston.